see electrical impulses moving through it, veins of electric light, and then you see it hit the ground. The brain looks like a thunderstorm when it is presenting a coherent thought. So no one has ever seen the thought. What they do see in neurophysics is that they see a storm raging around different quadrants of the brain. Those are areas that are mapped in the body and what the person must be responding to. A holographic image. Rage, murder, hate, compassion, love.
The brain does not know the difference between what it sees in its environment and what it remembers, because the same specific neural nets are then firing.
The brain is made up of tiny nerve cells called neurons. These neurons have tiny branches that reach out and connect to other neurons to form a neural net. Each place where they connect is integrated into a thought or a memory. Now, the brain builds up all its concepts by the law of associative memory. For example, ideas, thoughts, and feelings are all constructed and interconnected in this neural net, and all have a possible relationship with one another. The concept and the feeling of love, for instance, is stored in this vast neural net. But we build the concept of love from many other different ideas. Some people have love connected to disappointment. When they think about love, they experience the memory of pain, sorrow, anger, and even rage. Rage may be linked to hurt, which may be linked to a specific person, which then is connected back to love.
We build up models of how we see the world outside of us. And the more information that we have, the more we refine our model one way or another. And what we ultimately do is tell ourselves a story about what the outside world is. Any information that we process, any information that we take in from the environment is always colored by the experiences that we've had and an emotional response that we're having to what we're bringing in.
Who is in the driver's seat when we control our emotions or we respond to our emotions? We know physiologically that nerve cells that fire together wire together. If you practice something over and over again, those nerve cells have a long-term relationship. If you get angry on a daily basis, if you get frustrated on a daily basis, if you suffer on a daily basis, if you give reasons for the victimization in your life, you're rewiring and reintegrating that neural net on a daily basis, and that neural net now has a long-term relationship with all those other nerve cells called an identity. We also know that nerve cells that don't fire together no longer wire together. They lose their long-term relationship because every time we interrupt the thought process that produces a chemical response in the body, every time we interrupt it, those nerve cells that are connected to each other start breaking the long-term relationship. When we start interrupting and observing, not by stimulus and response and that automatic reaction, but by observing the effects it takes, then we are no longer the body, mind, conscious, emotional person that's responding to its environment as if it is automatic. Does that mean emotions are good or emotions are bad? No, emotions are designed so that it reinforces chemically something into long-term memory. That's why we have them.
All emotion is holographically imprinted chemicals.
The most sophisticated pharmacy in the universe is in here.
There's a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is like a little mini factory, and it is a place that assembles certain chemicals that match certain emotions that we experience. Those particular chemicals are called peptides. They're small chain amino acid sequences. The body's basically a carbon unit that makes about 20 different amino acids all together to formulate its physical structure. The body is a protein-producing machine. In the hypothalamus, we take small chain proteins called peptides, and we assemble them into certain neuropeptides or neurohormones that match the emotional states that we experience on a daily basis. So there's chemicals for anger, and there's chemicals for sadness, and there's chemicals for victimization. There's chemicals for lust. There's a chemical that matches every emotional state that we experience. And the moment that we experience that emotional state in our body or in our brain, that hypothalamus will immediately assemble the peptide that then releases it through the pituitary into the bloodstream. The moment it makes it into the bloodstream, it finds its way to different centers or different parts of the body. Now, every single cell in the body has these receptors on the outside.
And one cell can have thousands of receptors studying its surface, kind of opening up to the outside world. And when a peptide docks on a cell, it literally, like a key going into a lock, sits on the receptor surface and attaches to it and kind of moves the receptor, and kind of like a doorbell buzzing, sends a signal into the cell.
It's party time!
Power to be king.
What happens in adulthood is that most of us who've had our glitches along the way are operating in an emotionally detached place, or we're operating as if today were yesterday.
What is it?
Mixed.
In either the disconnected place or the overly emotional reactive place, because they've gone to an earlier time in reality, the person is not operating as an integrated whole.
Along the outside of the cell are these billions of receptor sites that are really just receivers of incoming information.
A receptor that has a peptide sitting in it changes the cell in many ways. It sets off a whole cascade of biochemical events, some of which wind up with changes in the actual nucleus of the cell.
Hi, when I grew up, I want to become a photographer just like you.
Oh,
Got any tips?
take that picture.
Thanks.
Each cell is definitely alive, and each cell has a consciousness, particularly if we define consciousness as the point of view of an observer. There is always the perspective of the cell.
A few years later!
That was me.
In fact, the cell is the smallest unit of consciousness in the body.
I'm hungry! Oh yeah! We've commandeered an entire serving planet! Keep it coming! Yeah! Oh, let's go! Oh yeah!
Well, my definition of an addiction is something really simple. Something that you can't stop.
Oh, make me so Pepper, please. It hurts.
We bring to ourselves situations that will fulfill the biochemical craving of the cells of our body by creating situations that meet our chemical needs.
It always happens to me. Why?
Every day.
An addict will always need a little bit more in order to get a rush or a high of what they're looking for chemically.
Don't tell me to calm down. You're always bossing me around.
So my definition really means that if you can't control your emotional state, you must be addicted to it.
Oh, I knew this was gonna happen. That's not what we agreed upon. You're not going to screw me.
Why don't you read the contract,
You
dear?
won't do anything about it, so I
No,
will.
ma'am. Don't dip your half-eaten shrimp back into the cocktail sauce.
Screw you and your health codes. I am the bride's sister. I'll stick my ass in the cocktail sauce if I damn well please.
Come on. I want you to get out there and serve and make sure everybody has a full glass. Fun, fun, fun. Listen, you won't do anything about it, so
You are not the sandwich. Chocolate just like
What is reality? What is the real reality?
So how can anyone really say they're in love with a specific person, for example? They're only in love with the anticipation of the emotions they're addicted to. Because the same person could fall out of favor the next week by not complying. My goodness, doesn't that change the landscape of our emotional outlook on personal needs and identities?
Oh, yeah.
Come here.
No. You got the punchline wrong. It's a photographer's joke. Go on about your music? Are you okay?
Right, and after that couldn't fucking some good.
When?
Just now.
I was with the groom.
Hey, I could read it.
I'm sorry. I was with the groom just now. Yeah, he loves Paulette. Where? Polacks, they all look the same in a tux. You're not Polish. Hi. Thanks. Here. This will help.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. That was in my mouth. Forget it.
So, what's your name?
Elliot. Hi.
Yeah.
It's
I'm Amanda.
Hey, Amanda. I should have asked you what your name. You photograph a lot of weddings?
I hate it.
I'm doing the thing again with my hands. I'm sorry.
We are emotions, and emotions are us. Again, I can't separate emotions. When you consider that every aspect of your digestion, every sphincter that opens and closes, every group of cells that come in for nourishment and then moves out to heal something or repair something. Those are all under the influence of the molecules of emotion. I mean, it's this total buzz.
So you ask if emotions are bad. Emotions are not bad. They're life. They color the richness of our experience. It's our addiction that's the problem. The thing that most people don't realize is that when they understand that they are addicted to emotions...
Another drink?
It's not just psychological. It's biochemical. Think about this. Heroin uses the same receptor mechanisms on the cells that our emotional chemicals use. It's easy to see then that if we can be addicted to heroin, then we can be addicted to any neuropeptide, any emotion.
To the groom!
To the groom.
Woo!
What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Hello. What do we need?
Some boxes. Put out! Yeah, baby!
The relevant search command that's going on is related to finding a certain emotional state. I mean, we can't even direct our eyes without having an emotional aspect to it.
Oh, gosh. She wouldn't fall for me. No.
Oh, mama! Woo! What the hell are you waiting for?
Oh, God.
Come on, you little pussies! Jeez, I can't believe you guys! What are you? Ooh, come on, just get the hell out of the way! Hi there, honey! Come on, baby, you know you want it. Oh, don't give me that look.
What about people who are addicted to sex?
Hello there, big boy.
Is there a rocket in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
I want to hear some. Don't touch anything.
very expensive equipment, all right?
Some polka music, okay?
I'm gonna play
These people want to hear some polka
we're gonna
music.
play some
You
polka
can't
music.
have a Polish wedding without polka music!
No, would you leave it alone? Keep your
Hey,
fucking hands
how can you have a Polish wedding without any fucking Polish
Keep
music?
your fucking hands off my equipment, man!
Like I said before, it ain't a Polish wedding without a polka!
When your road deserts you and your feet disappear, you'll find some old shoes wasted, worn without appeal. Where we go from here? You got to roll from here. You're sitting still inside fear. There must be some way out of here.
Our mind literally creates our body.
So it all starts in the cell. The cell is a protein-producing machine, but it gets its signal from the brain.
One of the things about receptors is they change in their sensitivity. If a given receptor for a given drug or internal juice is being bombarded for a long time at a high intensity, it will literally shrink up. There will be less of them, or it will be hooked up in such a way that it is desensitized or downregulated. So the same amount of drug or internal juice will elicit a much smaller response.
If we're bombarding the cell with the same attitude and the same chemistry over and over again on a daily basis, when that cell finally decides to divide, when it produces a sister cell or a daughter cell, that next cell will have more receptor sites for those particular emotional neuropeptides and less receptor sites for vitamins, minerals, nutrients, fluid exchange, or even the release of waste products or toxins. Now, all aging is a result of improper protein production. What happens when we age? Our skin loses elasticity. Well, elastin is a protein. What happens to our enzymes? We don't digest as well. What happens to our synovial fluid? Those are proteins. They become brittle and stiff. What happens to our bones? They become thin. So all aging is a result of improper protein production. So then the question arises, does it really matter what we eat? And does nutrition really have an effect if the cell doesn't even have the receptor sites after 20 years of emotional abuse to even receive or to let in the nutrients that are necessary for its health?
Okay, guys, it's time for a course correction on our trajectory along the path of our adventure. And that course correction is the movement to a new paradigm, just an expansion of the old, just as the universe is larger than we thought it was in our modeling. And it's always larger than we think it is.
I hate you.